In this video, we're going to look at working with patterns. Now, these are basically MIDI files that ship with Sample Tank 3, and they can be used to play the instruments that we load in on the instrument page. Now, I have my little multi-set up here with these 3 audio loops and the trigger notes assigned to the global play button. I'll just refresh your memory. And now I want to load up some instruments in additional parts and load up some patterns. Now, patterns are assigned to individual keys on individual parts, and they can be dragged into the DAW, or they can be mapped across the notes here. Now let's start by loading up a bass sound here on part 4. So this is a regular bass sound. I can play it on my keyboard. But if we switch to pattern over here, the pattern tab, we'll see we have an entire library of MIDI files, and they're categorized according to the instruments. So let's go to bass, and I can double click one of these, and it'll automatically assign it to the low C note. And when I hit play now, I'm going to hear that bass pattern playing along with my audio loops in the first 3 parts. So that works really nicely. Now what I can do to load multiple patterns in, we can have up to 128 across all the keys, is I can choose another one and I can just double click and it'll automatically assign it to the next note. And let's hit play and hear this one. That sounds nice. Here's another one. I can double click that and it'll assign it to the next sequential note. Alright, so that sounds good. Now let's say I don't like the first one. I can choose which one is going to be triggered by clicking this disclosure triangle here. There are the 3 that I've loaded in. And I'm going to go to the first one, and I don't think I like this one. I don't want that, so I'm going to click here, and I can click the X button to remove that one. And we see that it's removed from the mapping. Now, the other thing I can do is just take one and drag it onto a note, and I can do that anywhere in the range. Let's hit the play button. Okay, I don't think I want that one either, so I can delete that. So 2 ways of loading: double-clicking to map them consecutively from C0. The second way, dragging it onto a note in the keyboard. And the third thing we can do is we can simply drag it into the DAW. And now it's on that track here. I can hit play and it'll play that bass part. And of course I have access to it in any of the MIDI editors. It's MIDI data, so I can edit it as I can any MIDI data. Let's get rid of that for now. Now, let's load up another instrument on another part. I'm going to go to part 5 here, and let's try maybe an organ. And let's see what we have here. I'll just choose something simple. Let's try this. That's fine. And let's go back to our patterns and see if we have any organ patterns. And we do. And I'll take one of these. Let's try this. Now when I hit play, we'll hear these 2 MIDI patterns play in addition to the drum loops. But we have a problem. They're playing in different keys. Let me start by going back and just lowering the volume a bit of that organ. And we can modify these MIDI patterns with further controls that we have over here. Now we can adjust the key by clicking in this field. So we see here that the bass is playing in D and the organ is playing in C. So let's just shift this up a tone. There we go. And it shows in brackets +2, indicating that it's transposed up a tone from its default setting. And now they should play in the same key. It works, but I'm not crazy about that one. Let's see what else we have here. Let's try that one. And again, that's in F, so let's put that to D. There we go. It's not working very nicely. It's kind of low. Let's put it up an octave. There we go. Still not crazy about it. Let's try another one here. And let's try this. That's working nicely. I'll put that up an octave. Gotta slide slowly, and there we go. Oh, that was 2 octaves. Let's go down. There. So that's working nicely. Let's get rid of the ones that we don't like, that aren't working very well. There's that one, and there's this one. And what we can do is try, of course, MIDI files from different categories. Let's try one of the piano ones. Maybe chord riff. Let's try this. And there it is in a different key. I'll just bring it up a bit. There we go. Let's hear that. So that works nicely. I might put that up another octave as well. But you're not limited to the MIDI files from the specific instrument category. You can mix and match and get some interesting serendipity. That's great. Now we further can quantize these parts. We have a drop-down menu with different parameters, and I don't know how well these will work with the actual audio loops we have underneath, but you can quantize the MIDI. Let's try a bit of swing on these 16ths. This might work. You can quantize the MIDI to different swing values. That works nicely. Now we can transpose the key, we can set the quantized value, and we can also adjust the intensity, meaning how loudly or softly the notes play. Yeah, the organ isn't velocity sensitive, that's why this didn't have any influence, but we can adjust the intensity of the notes, meaning the velocity. And when you drag and drop these into your part over here, it's going to reflect the changes that we have in these fields. Now, one little footnote, when you're using non-pitched sounds like drums or percussion, this will be displayed in offsets of a semitone rather than showing a key center, but they still will transpose, so you can get some nice serendipity by loading in drum or percussion kits with different patterns and then transposing them to trigger different notes. So that's the pattern tab. We can audition from here, as I showed you before, up or down an octave. We have a search field to search patterns, the same way we do in the instrument and multi-tab, and we have a refresh button. And when you have multiple patterns assigned to the same part, we can have up to 128. The one that's currently showing is the one that'll be triggered with the global play button. See you for more in the next video.